All right, round 5 at the Bay Area Open. Here with another match. We got Scott. We got Eli. Thank you very much for letting me film you. It's going to be Tomb Kings versus Bretonnians on this table. We're, I think, the third table in the pairings right now. And we're playing flank attack. You can see we're already deployed. Flank over there. Flank over there. I'll be back in a second with some armies. All right, Tomb Kings. So we've got some archers up on the hill and a Necrosphinx. We've got big unit of Tomb Guard with a Mortuary Priest level 2 and some sort of hero there. I'll post it up. We've got the level 4 wizard there with a skirmishing unit of archers. War Sphinx there with a Tomb King General. Another Necrosphinx, another skirmishing archers, and then over here on the flank, what are these things called again?
Necropolis Knights.
Necropolis Knights. There we go. Here is our Bretonnian list. We've got unit of Knights of the Realm here on the flank with some Peg Knights and a Paladin and another unit of Knights of the Realm. Then over here we have the Peasantry. Oh, first we have a lady, excuse me, level 2 wizard, and a damsel. Here's the Peasantry, 2 units of men-at-arms and 2 units of peasant bowmen. Duke on a royal peg behind there. And over here we have a trebuchet behind those peasant bowmen and the Green Knight off the table. Strategy phase for the Tomb Kings. The Bretonnians, of course, are praying. 3 spells all cast on the Tomb Guard. We've got Earthen Ramparts, Glittering Robe, and Kassar's Incantation of the Desert Wind. So they are buffed up. Movement for the Tomb Kings. Archers stayed put. Seems like everybody else just kind of moved forward. Necrosphinx is forward. War General forward on the War Sphinx. Tomb Guard. And the Necrosphinx were there. And that is where the Necropolis Knights ended up. Tomb King's shooting, not a whole bunch. Really the only successful shooting is the War Sphinx there with the Tomb King. Killed 1 peasant, man-at-arms. And then for reserve moves, just a couple. Archers and the Tomb Kings have the special spell, the Incantation of the Desert Wind, so they were able to reserve move up as well. Strategy phase for the Bretonnians. The Green Knight did not arrive, and the damsel attempted to cast Plague of Rust on the Tomb Guard and failed. Movement for the Bretonnians. So they actually can move through cover because they have the antlers. So they've charged right through the forest. Not charged, moved right through the forest. Paladin moved up. Other Knights of the Realm moved up. The brave Duke has valiantly urged the peasantry to go forward first into the fight. The damsel is behind them. Archers stayed put. Trebuchet, and the Duke on the Royal Pegasus has elected to move very far over to that side with a march move, 20 inches. All right, shooting phase for the Bretonnians. Mostly harmless. However, the damsel attempted to cast Burning Gaze and had a miscast and blew herself up for 1 wound. And the Trebuchet actually landed a hit over here on the Necropolis Knights. One of them actually killed an entire one with a 3-wound center target and did 1 wound to another one. Pretty good shot. Strategy phase for the Tomb Kings. So a couple spells. Plague of Rust failed. This level 4 sorcerer here cast Earthen Ramparts on himself, as well as Kassar's Incantation of the Desert Wind. And Glittering Robe is over here with a level 2 Mortuary Priest. All right, charge declarations here. So the Necrosphinx long bomb charged those archers who fled because they failed their terror test. So they fled 9 inches and are almost off the board. And then these 2 Sphinxes, the War Sphinx and the Necrosphinx, just declared charge on the peasantry there. And they also fled from the terror test. So they're running away, 5 inches. The Tomb Guard declared a charge on these peasants, and they're holding. We'll see how that goes. Here's the actual charges for the Tomb Kings. So the Necrosphinx reached those peasants, men-at-arms, and cut them down, cut down the peasantry, passed its restraint test and reformed. The War Sphinx took charge, moved forward, ended up about there. Tomb Guard and the other Necrosphinx both successfully charged into the other block of peasantry. We'll see how that goes. Remaining moves for the Tomb Kings. The Archers and the Sorcerer moved up. Archers moved up. Necropolis Knights moved up. And that's about it. Here's the shooting for the Tomb Kings. These archers here managed to kill 1 Knight of the Realm. And these archers over here managed to kill one peasant bowman who collapsed directly into the waiting wheelbarrow behind him, ready to be carried off the battlefield. Just get a better look of that peasant in the wheelbarrow there. Here's the combat here with the Tomb Guard and the Necrosphinx. They absolutely mutilated the peasantry here. Killed, looks like 12 peasants. And the peasants, poor peasants, did nothing in return. The only saving grace is the Spectral Doppelganger failed to go off. But, yeah, they are lost by a lot. They needed Snake Eyes, and they are at number 2-1. So they have fled. We'll see what happens with that. Yes, unfortunately, the peasants, they did roll an 11, which was a valiant attempt at fleeing, but that Necrosphinx ran them down and brutally cut down the peasantry. They're dead. He passed his restraint or his reform check, and he's facing this way. The Tomb Guard just chose to restrain, and they are standing right there. The Bretonnian strategy phase. So the archers have heroically rallied, and the damsel attempted to cast Plague of Rust on the general there, the Tomb King, and got dispelled by the Hierophant. All right, here's the charges for the Bretonnians. The general is, or his general is charging the Tomb King general. The Tomb King general stood and shot, did not do any damage. And we'll be right back, see if we make it in. And the Duke actually did manage to make that long bomb charge there on the Tomb King, so he is in. Knights of the Realm have declared a charge over here. They are going in on the flank of the Tomb Guard. Didn't need to roll anything because they're so close. And the Pegasus Knights actually rolled a 19 on their charge, and they have flying in on the archers over here. So they'll be all the way up on the hill. Remaining moves for the Bretonnians. These Knights of the Realm and Paladin moved up to get ready for next turn. The Damsel moved sideways a couple bit, lining up a Burning Gaze laser shot up there against the Hierophant. And I believe that's it. Bretonnian shooting. The archers, unfortunately, did not manage to kill anything. The Trebuchet killed itself, took a wound, rolled a misfire, and rolled a 4. So it takes a wound and can't shoot this turn or next turn. And the Damsel attempted to cast Burning Gaze and got dispelled. So that was a pretty terrible shooting phase, unfortunately. So for the Duke against the Tomb King here, the Tomb King won, only actually caused 1 real wound, but managed to do 4 additional wounds with the Ogre Blade because one of the Ogre Blade hits hit for D3 and it was regen save, so it still counts for 3 points of combat res. The Duke rolled an 11 and is elected to valiantly reposition himself away from the War Sphinx over there. And the War Sphinx is elected to restrain. So to the end of this combat here, the Knights of the Realm took 2 casualties. Part of that was a vicious Spectral Doppelganger attack from his Mortuary Priest there, although he only had a hand weapon and strength 3, so it wasn't that vicious. They rolled pretty badly, only killed 1 Tomb Guard. The combat ended up being 4 res to 4 res due to the flank charge and, disruption and all that. But the Knights of the Realm have a musician, so that puts it over the edge. They win combat 5-4. And this is also a phalanx, and so we're going to see how that resolves. The resolution here is that they are Indomitable 2 and only lost combat by 1, so no crumble. And they're also a Nehekaran phalanx, so they don't give ground. So we will run it back next turn. Pegasus Knights absolutely obliterated the archers, killed a whole bunch, the rest crumbled, and they elected to overrun voluntarily and moved 6 inches forward. Strategy phase for the Tomb Kings. So he successfully cast Earthen Ramparts. He attempted to cast, I believe, Glittering Robes, and that failed. And he attempted to cast Plague of Rust on the Knights of the Realm. That was dispelled. And then he finally tried to cast Sar's Incantation of the Desert Wind, and he miscast, and he had a Calamitous Detonation, killed an archer, and did a wound to himself back there on the Hierophant. And then 1 Tomb Guard got resurrected, and we had a couple Thy Will Be Dones. And that's it for the strategy phase. All right, we've got the Tomb King's charges. So the Peasant Bowman here were targeted with a charge by that Necrosphinx. And the Necropolis Knights charged the Duke. This is getting a little complicated. So the Duke was already fleeing. He fled some more, valiantly fled and repositioned himself. behind the trebuchet there and the archers. And then the archers panicked from that, from being flooded through, and they failed their check and repositioned themselves behind the Duke. The trebuchet are really the only brave warriors here. They passed their test, so they got charged right in the face by the Necropolis Knights. And just for good measure, the Necrosphinx is piling on to the trebuchet as well. The Tomb King of the War Sphinx declared a charge against the damsel. The damsel elected to flee, deciding that running through the Necrosphinx was less bad than getting charged in the face by the Tomb King. Probably correct. Fled 4 inches, didn't even make it to the Necrosphinx, and that ended up being just about 1 or 2 inches out of the charge roll from the Tomb King. So she was actually safe.
They're gonna flee.
And charges over here. The Necrosphinx charged the Knights of the Realm, who also valiantly decided to reposition themselves away from the Necrosphinx over this direction. They did pass their terror check, though, so that was a voluntarily fled to reposition. And the Necrosphinx redirected the charge towards the Paladin, who countercharged. So they were going to fight it out. Shooting phase for the Tomb Kings. These skelly archers over here shot at the Peg Knights and did not hurt them. All right, here's the combat over here. So the Necropolis Knights and the Necrosphinx just obliterated the trebuchet. The Necropolis Knights elected to overrun and overran into the fleeing Duke, which qualifies for catching the Curs, a fleeing unit caught by pursuit move. So he just died without even getting to fight. And the Necrosphinx restrained and reformed over there. The Paladin valiantly fought off the Necrosphinx for a turn, managed to do 1 wound and cause a regen save. 2 regen saves, I think. And the Necrosphinx didn't do anything to the Paladin. He won combat, pushed the Necrosphinx back 2 inches. That's it for that fight. This combat, not a whole lot happened. He killed 1 Tomb Guard. Another Tomb Guard crumbled. There's still a phalanx. And they still didn't move. So we're going to keep fighting. Strategy phase for the Bretonnians. The peasants over there, the peasant bowmen, bravely repositioned themselves off the board, and they rallied. Oh, they were fine. They don't need to rally. These knights rallied and turned around, and the damsel, who's right behind that Necrosphinx, rallied, and the Green Knight has arrived. Maybe the day is saved for the Bretonnians. We shall see. Movement for the Bretonnians. Only 1 charge, which was the Green Knight charging into the flank of the Necrosphinx. The damsel has moved a couple inches that way. And these Knights of the Realm moved out of the forest over that way in the remaining move phase. Shooting for the Bretonnians. The archers shot at the Necropolis Knights and did 1 wound. And the damsel shot Burning Gaze as a laser through the Tomb Guard, through the Hierophant, and through the Skelly archers, and managed to kill 2 Tomb Guard, put another wound on the Hierophant, so it's down to 1, and to kill 1 archer. The Green Knight and the Paladin took on the Necrosphinx, and between the 2 of them, actually managed to kill it without suffering any damage. The Paladin attempted to restrain after the kill, but failed and overran straight forwards in the wrong direction. The Green Knight attempted to overrun into the Tomb Guard, and it was 1 inch short, so unfortunately stopped right there on the edge. Tomb Guard versus the Knights of the Realm. This combat finally broke open. The Tomb Guard were able to kill 2 Knights of the Realm, win the combat by 3, and because they no longer lost their rank bonus, because the Knights of the Realm were no longer unit strength 5, and so they needed a 6 to give ground, and they were outnumbered 2 to 1. So anything worse than that was going to be a flee. They failed, but the BSB was in range, so they made it on the reroll and they gave ground. And the Tomb Guard failed their restraint rolls, so they followed up right back in. All right, we're out of time for the round of the tournament, so we're just kind of talking this out a little bit. We're assuming that that knight is dead. We did an overrun move. They didn't make it into those Grail Knights. That would fight out for a turn or 2. Peg Knights would probably go for the archers here. Hierophant rolled his spell to get reserve move and hide, so he wouldn't be able to be charged by the pegs on this turn. We fought out the Green Knight versus the Tomb King, and after 2 rounds of combat, the Green Knight died. Got him with the Ogre Blade. And then the Green Knight would come back on turn 6 for points denial purposes. Archers are dead. The Necropolis Knights would probably move over here and screen the Hierophant on turn 5 to protect him from the Peg Knights. So Hierophant probably lives. That's more or less where we're at. We'll do our best to calculate the points for the end of the round.